So this guy has lied to his audience over and over and over.
Art for art's sake is like gin for gin's sake, vodka for vodka's sake, etc. I've recently addressed the fact that part of my role here on YouTube is criticism. And I'm not ashamed of that. I don't apologize for that. I think that in the same way that we have to recognize the role of the critic in art, the role of the critic in cinema is important, the role of the critic in politics can be much more important. And this whole controversy with Durianrider and Freelee and the raw till 4 diet, it came into my life in a very peculiar way. And I'd like to think that chapter of my life is now ending, and we're moving on to other forms of critique, other forms of engagement with what's going on in veganism, ecology, animal rights, and related politics, maybe even unrelated politics. Maybe we can get back to talking about the politics of Canada, politics of Donald Trump, politics of Asia. Who knows? We can get back to some of those topics on my channel, which if you go through the past videos, I got more than 500 videos here. I have actually touched on all that stuff at some point. There's a lot more to this channel than Durianrider, and in fact, there's a lot more to this channel than just veganism, too. With all that been said, look, there's a new 2-hour-long documentary. I'm going to hit you with a 6-minute clip of it right now. You can click on the link below this video to see it over on NorVegan's channel if you like these 6 minutes, and if you think it's telling you something that you need to hear, it's telling you something you haven't already heard before. For those of you who followed the story really closely 1 year ago, down to and including the present day, it's not going to tell you a lot that you haven't heard before, but it does put together in one 2-hour cinematic experience all this messy nonsense from this controversy that went from threats of a fist fight in the street to drama in the courtroom in Thailand.
So this guy has lied to his audience over and over and over. He's refused to give any legit certification of his criminal history.
Claiming that I needed to provide legal proof that I was not a wife beater, although amusingly, by complete coincidence, I actually did provide him with a current criminal record check from Canada that related to the job I had lined up in China. I needed criminal background check to get that job, so I did actually have a fresh criminal record check.
There's a lot more to the story.
No, there's not a lot more to the story.
Why are you so hateful, man? Why can't you put your effort into helping the animals versus putting vegan against vegan or creating more drama, lies, etc.? Why can't you do that? Why not make something bigger than just bashing Durianrider and Freelee? Why be so jealous or full of hate? Maybe you are a shield. Maybe you're getting paid by meat and dairy.
A lot of you asked me to do a thing. I did comment about it on Facebook. Durianrider, Harley, and his accusations, and a lot of people calling this drama, and I get it to some degree, but I don't. It's not. This isn't like someone broke up with someone. Let's gossip about it. Like this is actually something really serious and something that I think has serious implications and brings up some serious questions and ethical issues.
So after apologizing, he went straight back to doing the exact same thing he was apologizing for.
I do feel like the one comment where you had called Aizal Mazard a pedophile, I do feel like if you hadn't made that statement, this whole summer could have looked a lot different. I really do believe that.
It was good, man. It gave us a lot of publicity and eventually exposed what a fraud this motherfucker is, and what a sleazebag and what a sexual predator he is.
Do you really genuinely believe that?
100%, in my opinion. He's just like one of those manipulative fucks.
I've had so many fights. I've been in prison before. It's no big deal to me.
Is he trying to use prison as a, hey, I went to prison, as like, is he using that? I'm trying to think, to his followers, to the diddly writers, they're like, yeah, our leader's been in prison. Ugh, where's your leader been?
Going to prison doesn't mean you're tough. Spending time in prison doesn't make you tough.
Now here's something interesting. Joey Carstrong, who used to be Harley's friend, revealed a little something about these prison stories.
I've already been in jail, bro. I ain't going back. It's funny that he said he's not scared of going back to prison. I think he did one day in juvie for doing a graffiti tag or something. He did one day in juvie. It's pretty funny. I'm not scared of going back to prison.
I've been to jail. I'm not scared of going back. Why say that, dude? You've never done jail. You're a known rat, and you're an actual informant for the police. You're not a prison. Just be who you are, man. Be who you are.
I'm not convinced that he's a sexual predator and that he was trying to fuck Julia Bohr. I'm not convinced of that. But I mean, is that what you're saying? Is that really what you're telling us?
That's my hunch. That's my hunch. I would rather, being the teacher, having an event that attracts a lot of young women, I would rather err on the side of caution than something that happened. People say, hey, look, Durianrider, you let that happen. I'll do what I have to do to protect the scene.
This whole controversy is like an IQ test for the vegans watching it. What everyone should pick up on is the miscellaneous nature of these accusations. If the problem was that I was a pedophile, and I say back to Durianrider, okay, let's meet at the police station. Because he originally said he had criminal charges against me, that he wanted me to be arrested. And I said, okay, meet you at the police station. Why did he back down from that? He backed down from it because it was a lie. There never was a legitimate reason to think I was trying to get with teenage girls. There never was a legitimate reason to think I was a pedophile. And there also has never been a legitimate reason to think I was a wife beater. Durianrider has defamed me, threatened me, and invited others to assault me. Originally, he was saying he wanted other people to beat me up so they could abduct me and take me to the police station. When I responded to that by offering to meet him at the police station, I said, look, if you've actually got criminal charges of me, let's go to the police station and let's see the evidence and let's go to court. Fine, arrest me. I'm not avoiding arrest. And of course, he suddenly lost interest in going to the police or what have you. And you know, he dropped the pretense of wanting to beat me up in order to take me to the police to face justice or to be arrested. And he then instead switched to just saying he wants to beat me up for the sake of beating me up.
I would fucking down Isel, man. I would fucking hunt him down for a friendly Muay Thai street fight match. I would fucking hunt him down.
This is what it comes to. Threatening to beat someone up, threatening to kill someone, defaming someone as a sex predator. You know, it's so low. And again, it's not really about me or my feelings or my ego. This is so shameful for veganism.
Isel, let's go and fucking fight in the ring. And I'm going to crack both your fucking legs in half, cunt.
The last reply I got from Durianrider before I blocked him on Facebook, which ended the discussion, the last message I got from him was, so sue me then. And he follows it up with a curse word. I don't want to take Durianrider to court, but I will. Who's been drawing the line and saying, no, here's the line, here's what's over the line? I have been. That's why they hate me so much.
And if I'm in prison, I'm going to train up every motherfucking day and go and find them and show them a newfound Muay Thai fitness. No doubt about it.
Durianrider has been threatening me with violence. Legally speaking, he's now guilty of defamation, uttering threats, i.e. uttering threats of violence, and inciting violence. And all of those are real crimes.
So Harley continued to lie about the situation and pretended that he had only called Isel a creep in a Facebook comment.
You can't go to prison for calling someone a creepy motherfucker on Facebook who contacts 16-year-old girls randomly. You can't get someone arrested for a Facebook comment.
In what magical court can you prosecute someone for something they wrote on Facebook? Which magical court is this?
You can't put someone in prison for a Facebook comment.
You can.
Now, I have to admit, I did not enjoy spending 2 hours of my life watching that documentary. I got to the end of the 2 hours and I thought, I wish I had spent that time doing push-ups. I wish I had spent it doing something else. But I'm in an unusual situation because I had to follow that whole drama as it unfolded. I was involved and I was in court and everything else. So I already knew most of what it was telling me. And also I'm in a position where I have to kind of wince because I often know exactly what's being edited out and what's being excluded. I don't mean that as an unfair criticism against the filmmaker. But of course that's the position I'm in. Sometimes the truth of what happened is even crazier than, you know, what you see on camera would suggest. For instance, he goes into some detail, the filmmaker, in showing how Durianrider kept denying that the court case was real and ongoing, even though it was ridiculous to do so, even though there's plenty of evidence around that the court case was real. But he doesn't show you that Durianrider kept doing that even after I had posted videotape of myself going to the courtroom in person and me standing in the hallway in front of the courtroom with the legal documents. Durianrider made statements on the internet claiming that I had hired actors to pretend to be my lawyers and to walk into the courtroom with me. He was still claiming it was fake even at that point, he was still claiming it was fake even after we spoke face to face. Well, sorry, via the internet. I'm sorry, but via camera chat, whatever you want to say. We had camera and sound. And I was speaking to him directly saying, Durianrider, you need to hire a lawyer. The court case is real. I told him the date of the next court date. And all he had to do was go and check. He could have had legal representation there. He could have been defended. So even in that kind of thing, I mean, the filmmaker is doing his best to give you a concise overview of what happened. The reality is Durianrider's behavior was even more unreasonable. It was even more crazy that is, being suggested by this summary. So, look, a lot of people have asked, why did I go to Chiang Mai in the first place? I think they asked that because they think there's going to be some kind of interesting secret revealed by the answer, and there really isn't. I almost never get asked. I think nobody's ever asked, why did I decide to criticize Durianrider and Freelee in the first place? And the answer to that is, I think, a little bit more interesting. And, now I have to look back at the amount of time and energy that's gone into debunking Durianrider, as opposed to other possibly more meaningful content on my channel. If you go back, I mean, they're not well made compared to my current videos. I have one video that's, I think, quite well made that's called The Wonder That Was Freelee, looking back at, really in an analytical way, why did people become true believers in this? Why did people get interested? Why was the support for this, very eccentric movement within veganism, why was it so intense over a short period of time? But, I think for me the turning point was just that I didn't want to deal with diet on my channel at all. And I went through the videos by two YouTubers, one of whom is now using the name The Microvore Diet, and the other of whom is Unnatural Vegan. I thought I was making one video, and I thought I could just allude to the fact that Durianrider's diet advice had been debunked, and I could just throw in some short clips from these two other channels, and then move on, that I wouldn't have to discuss that. But when I was going through their videos, I found they really didn't do that. They really did not say what needed to be said. And that was kind of, in my case, it was just a vague memory. I thought Unnatural Vegan had dealt with that really thoroughly. But then when I went back and I was just looking for clips to find exactly what she said and put it together, it wasn't there. So, it kind of fell on me to say, okay, I've got to put together a concise summary that really answers the claims these people are making and that outlines what the problem is with their diet advice. So that was a turning point, both for my channel and for them, because the sort of topic I wouldn't want to talk about, but it was something nobody else was talking about. So, for example, Vegan Gains would have been a natural for that, but at the time, Vegan Gains was a kind of ally of Durianrider and Freelee's. He didn't criticize their health and diet advice or anything else they did. I remember Vegan Gains at the time, he just said that his channel wasn't set up to criticize other vegans. He only wanted to criticize meat eaters and meat-based diets, so he didn't want to criticize, misleading claims made by Rawtel for a particularly eccentric vegan diet. So that, as I say, kind of ended up on my shoulders. The first direct response I had from Durianrider, the first time he made a video addressed to my channel, was not answering the health and diet advice I gave, but it was about Crohn's disease. So Crohn's disease is a very, very serious illness. I mean, Durianrider, whether or not he ever had Crohn's disease, whether or not there was any substance to his claim to having cured Crohn's disease, he made a bunch of questionable claims that it seemed nobody else was questioning. And again, since then, I have asked Vegan Gains directly. I've said, why didn't you ever deal with this? And he just said he didn't even know about it. He'd never heard of it. He wasn't aware that Durianrider made these kinds of, pseudo-scientific, genuinely misleading and immoral claims. He's claiming to have cured an incurable disease. And as I did more reading about that, and had people writing into me with advice, I found that really, if you just pay attention to what Durianrider said closely, if you just looked at the inconsistencies in his claims, it really seems like he never had the disease in the first place. But Durianrider, responded to that with a video. The original title was something like, I 10,000% cured Crohn's disease, something like this. I don't know if he later changed that to 100%. He actually misspelled Crohn's disease in the title and went back and made some changes. But he made a video absolutely doubling down on his claim. And from that point, I already knew that they were watching the videos on my channel, both Freelee and Durianrider, and they were responding to them both directly and indirectly. So at that point, he had one video directly addressed to my channel dealing with the questions I'd raised about Crohn's disease, and then thus also more broadly about the legitimacy of his diet and health and exercise advice. Topics I never thought à-bas-le-ciel would really deal with. It's just not my forte. It's not what my channel's supposed to be about. And a lot of those videos on my channel got significant numbers of viewers, more than 30,000 viewers. So that really is how one thing led to another with me and Durianrider. When I arrived in Chiang Mai, I met up with a girl named Leah, first name Leah. She's appeared on this channel. Leah had just seen Freelee and Harley at the grocery store. They just go to the same grocery store. She'd bumped into them there in Chiang Mai. And Freelee was furious, absolutely furious. Of course, Durianrider was his usual self. She was just furious at Leah because Leah had dared to question the diet. So for those people, and in terms of their view of the world, there was no legitimate role for criticism. There was no legitimate role for questioning. Their whole mentality and the way they ran their club, let's put it that way, was that either you were for them or against them. Either you were a supporter or you were the enemy. And the truth is, they didn't treat their supporters very well, and they didn't treat their enemies very well either. They didn't even treat their own supporters with dignity, and they treated their enemies horribly. I'll tell you something else, though. I have not received one email of apology. Not one. From anybody admitting that they were wrong. Admitting that they took the wrong side or did the wrong thing. All of us within veganism, we think of veganism as this morally positive cause, and therefore we like to imagine all the people within veganism as being morally and intellectually virtuous, and they're not. I mean, you can just look at the numbers involved. My audience is small, and I'm totally happy with that. The type of content I create is only appealing to and interesting to a small audience, really focused on vegan activism, organization, political dissent, future of the planet, ecology, ethics, etc. I know there are only a few thousand people interested in that type of content on the internet, and I'm totally happy with the size of audience that I've got. But then you look at the tens of thousands who were so eager to jump on Durianrider's bandwagon, so eager to jump on Vegan Cheetah's bandwagon. And now those wagons have stopped rolling. And where are those apologies, guys? There should be one. I should have one email that I can show here. I should have 10 emails for those tens of thousands of people, because it's more than 10,000 people, and it's more than 10,000 vegans. It's more than 10,000 of us who were dead wrong on this, and they weren't quiet either. They weren't mousy. They weren't just silently sitting back and judging me. These were people who really went out of their way to condemn me as a liar and a fraud and all these terrible things when I was telling the truth at every stage. And I'm still telling the truth now. But, I've made this comparison before. If you look at some of the YouTube channels that are devoted to comic books, mainstream DC Comics, Marvel Comics, superhero comics, they really do have more of a community than veganism does in 2017. Really, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not. If you take a look, they have conferences, they have meetings, they buy airplane tickets, they do fundraisers, they have donations, They auction things off, and they raise the money to have a convention, and then people fly there. I think you can look at the Game of Thrones fan community. But yeah, sure, the comic books are a really good example. They have more elements of a real community than vegans ever have had, and maybe ever will. And you can look through the comments below their channels. You can look through their controversies. Sometimes those guys do have their own scandals, but not like this. And I don't see this level of, mean-spirited, vitriolic, ultimately just malicious infighting within those other digital demimons, And I think it really is worthwhile to look across the table, look at what the guys in comic books have going on, and ask yourself, why can't we have that? And where's it going to start? Where more of a constructive attitude towards making the most out of what we got here in veganism in terms of human resources. Can it start with this? Can it start with you watching this video right now? Can it start with something you can do today or tomorrow, or sitting down with your calendar and looking ahead to the rest of this year? I don't know what the future of veganism is, but the future of veganism is not Durianrider. It's not Vegan Cheetah. It's not a community built on slander and defamation and get skinny quick $35 ebooks. It's just not.